We are live now, just so you know.
Cool.
So as soon as they come back, we'll be on live. Where is my email? We are live.
I was going to say, what? Why does it sound like me?
Yeah. And it was starting to whistle, echo, and stuff. Audio is live. Video is live.
I'm back.
Hey.
Did you get your button?
Yes, and we are live too.
I don't know why that made me laugh.
Are you guys excited for Gallivant?
Nope.
It does
No.
look cool. It's actually, we have access to the first 6 episodes.
I haven't actually had time to get excited.
Is it on the media site?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to ask you for the password.
Okay.
I'm so excited for this show.
For once?
No,
Gallivant.
Gallivant.
Oh.
Yes.
I'll be back in 15 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, Jacqueline, you didn't hear. They have access to the first 6 episodes.
Oh, really?
What is this show?
Do you want to reward people who help you on a daily basis and give them that access?
You should still have access, actually. I don't think that the password has changed since the last time.
I
I've
have a
never
very
had the
old password.
Okay.
I've never had the password.
No, that's going to be the forum's new show to watch on Sundays. We all decided.
What is it about? What is the... I don't watch TV,
It's
so...
going to be singing, and it's going to be laughter, and it's going to be amusing, and that's all I need to know.
It's a musical comedy extravaganza, and the composer is Alan Menken.
Which is really all you need to know.
Who...
Right? I mean...
Alan Menken, he's the one that does Little Mermaid. He did, like...
He did Disney, basically.
Yeah, he's like the Disney composer. He did Newsies. He's done Little Shop of Horrors. Like,
The guy who did Frozen is the same guy who did Buffy.
Is he really?
Yeah, Christoph Beck.
Oh.
What?
Who watched Buffy here?
Me.
I did.
Okay.
Watch one episode.
I'm not going to say this in the podcast because it's like off topic, but did anyone have like season 2 finale flashbacks from Buffy when the whole Rumpel scene happened?
Yes.
Like, come on. So good.
You could say that in the podcast.
I guess so. I do bring up Buffy quite frequently, don't I?
That's okay with me.
So good.
Yeah, and the only person who was upset about the off-topic stuff like that doesn't listen anymore.
Oh.
I didn't know there was such a person.
Off topic? Like, I don't find that off topic.
Well, I don't know actually what they were talking about. Someone said we get off topic too much.
Oh.
Like off topic talking about Frozen or
Who knows?
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
One man's off topic is another man's.
Come on, man. Just let it go.
Right?
Well, and
No,
to
I'm
me,
not. Stop trying to incite me to sing. I do that enough.
To me, like when we bring up Lost and Charmed and Buffy and all these shows that have the same writers, that's not like
Totally
they have
on
the
topic.
same writers.
Yeah, it's well, I'd say it is off topic, but it's connected.
Yeah.
So that's why we get to say it.
And I try not to
I don't know
ramble
what the
for
topic
too
of the
long.
show is.
Sometimes it's so much as like, oh, I have a theory, and I got this theory from this episode of Charmed, and the writer's the same, so that gives more.
Okay, every time you guys say I have a theory, that brings me back to Buffy.
A dancing demon.
No. My next line is it could be bunnies.
Yeah.
Every time you guys say that.
I have a bunny.
Aww.
Just throwing
Thank
that
you
out
for
there.
those nightmares.
Now, that might be a little off topic.
It's a punk
Oh,
pun.
it's like when you're reading stories. I don't know if anyone has ever read stories to a kindergarten class other than me, but like I call them links to life. So it's like the balloon tree, and then a hand shoots up. Yes, little Johnny. One time, my mom brought me home a balloon.
Yeah. Hunter,
Yes.
are these your notes that are top level?
Yes, they are hers. I saw that.
Oh, are they duplicated?
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, so I copied them, paste, and.
Oh.
Okay, so I can
Everything
delete
under
these
Hunter's
then.
name to mine needs to be moved over a section.
Oh no, I copied and pasted mine, so what was on that page is also on the other page.
Okay. Great. I just deleted them to clean it up.
There we go.
So the way we'll do this is, since it's topical, just in general, we'll go in the order our names are listed, where if one of us finishes, or it seems like there's a lull in the conversation, go ahead, and then whoever is the next name on the list can take your next topic to talk about. There will be things where we'll be talking about the same thing, and it won't quite be in order. So what you can do in Workflowy is, if you're on a Mac, press Command-Enter, and it marks it as complete.
Okay.
On Windows, it's Control-Enter. And then up in the upper right corner, click on where it says Completed Hidden, or make sure it says Completed Visible. And then you'll be able to see anything that's marked complete, but it will have an X through it. And that's kind of a nice way that we can indicate, okay, we've talked about everything that you had on this point. It's not something that we need to address further.
Okay.
And then Jack is listening to, I believe.
Hi, Jack.
Jack, make sure that you have that switched as well, where you see completed visible, so you see all of our notes. All right, let's start this thing. I'll send a tweet, and then we'll start.
Oh, I meant to tweet. Someone told me I should use. I just had like the worst service ever at a Christmas party, and someone was like, "Use your social media clout to diss this restaurant." I said, "Not on the podcast."
Use your powers for good.
Well, I use my Twitter for that, but.
But her Facebook she uses for evil.
Have we started recording? I just realized I
No,
haven't
not
pressed
yet.
a button.
No.
Okay.
Would you like to
Okay.
press a button?
Start your recordings. Verify that you have the right mic selected.
Yep. Recording.
Yep.
Yes. Recording. Are we clapping?
Yeah, all right. Aaron, clap. Hunter. Jacqueline. All right, here we go.
I want to get so I can know you by your claps.
By the way, Hunter and Jacqueline, do you have spoilers to discuss at the end of this?
Funny you should ask. Hunter, we actually have a boatload, but we didn't talk about them beforehand.
Yeah, I found some. Are you talking about that whole article that came out from TV
We
Line?
have, there's 6 articles because everybody gave interviews because they hate me.
But yeah, we didn't talk about it, and I didn't really plan them out, write them down.
Neither
then-
did I.
Then let's skip spoilers for this episode, and we could either have just a dedicated spoiler episode after Christmas, or
Let's
maybe
do
combine
that.
it with our Gallivant review. Because we'll probably just do
Okay.
one episode about Gallivant.
I can't
I'm
wait for
fine
that.
Can
with
we do that?
either.
All right.
Gala. Okay.
Yeah, I know that's exactly what's in my head.
They really need new branding.
It's
John?
only 4 weeks. It doesn't need that much branding.
It's true.
This will be a fun episode for you to edit. There's 5 simultaneous voices.
Hey.
All right, here we go. Episode 177. In... You're listening to Once, episode 177, Heroes and Villains. Welcome back to another episode of Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time. I'm Daniel J. Lewis.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin.
I'm Erin.
I'm Hunter.
And I'm Jacqueline.
We've got the whole gang here to talk about the season finale, or mid-season finale of Once Upon a Time, and we've got some great things to share with you. I want to mention, I'll talk more about this in a little bit, this episode is brought to you by lynda.com. Check out lynda.com/once to learn something awesome in 2015. I'll tell you more about that later on. So as a mid-season finale, I felt like this was not as amazing as the season 3 mid-season finale.
Well, but that's good.
Yes.
You don't want to serve the best first. We don't want the season finale in the middle of the season and the mid-season finale at the end of the season like happened last year.
Yeah.
In terms of epicness.
Erin, what did you think overall?
I felt like last episode was more like a season or the mid-season finale than this episode, but I think they did a good job in kind of continuing to tie up the loose ends from last while setting up everything for the return in March.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an epilogue.
Yeah, we kind of got 2 mid-season finales, and they actually spent an appropriate amount of time saying goodbye to the outgoing characters.
Yeah.
Yes, and we actually got some closure there.
Yeah.
Hunter, overall, what do you think?
Oh, I really liked it. I agree. It was a bigger, more mid-season finale last episode because it was the whole concluding of the story. But it's a good, like, can't wait till next session, the next half of the season.
Jacqueline, what did you think?
I thought this episode was okay. I thought it dragged for maybe the first 40 minutes, and I was sort of like, nothing's really happening. And then once kind of it got going, it got better. But yeah, I agree that in terms of looking back at past mid-season finales, this wasn't one of the strongest.
I guess we actually did say that in the initial reaction that for 40 minutes, after 40 minutes, I was like, huh. I thought a lot of stuff was supposed to happen. And then it kind of still did, but yeah, it took a little bit to get there.
When I was taking my notes, I had written, the heading saying goodbye to the out-of-towners or whatever Rumpel had referred to them as in the first kind of opening, and then wrote nothing under that category for the next 40 minutes. Like there was basically a huge lull in just that storyline. Like any charming and any Frozen character basically didn't appear in that context for that whole time because they were setting everything up.
It was a lot of treading water where they kind of have characters rehash plot to you. So, you get a scene of Hook and Rumpel in Rumpel's shop where he once again lays out that he's going to cleave himself from this dagger. And if I have to hear that word one more time.
Epic
I'm like, yeah, they're like, okay, we got to write the cleave scene. Who wants to write the cleave scene this week?
Adam, Eddie, I can't take that word anymore. You got to get a new one.
Separate is appropriate.
Now, one thing that we haven't necessarily heard is something Emma said when they went to the bigger than ever ice wall at the town line. Does it just mean was it bigger? But they took it down, so it's okay. But Emma says, I sense that some of Ingrid's magic remains.
Yeah.
Was that just an awkward line for Emma, or was that really kind of an indication that she can now sense magical things?
She's always been able to since the curse was broken in season 1. She said she could feel something.
She didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and there have been
That's
other
true.
moments like that where she could feel some kind of magical thing, like when she was with Regina at a certain point in, I can't remember what episode, but yeah, they felt something. And then at other moments, yeah, so this isn't new.
It was a kind of a bit of an awkward line, though. Like, I know where Jeremy's coming from, where she just says, I sense something, and I almost expect her to start talking about the Force.
Yeah, Emma's not really a sensor. She's kind of like, nah, there's some magic still here.
And there was a scene later where the same thing happened when she's like, wait, guys, I better do this, because when they were going through the portal. So I think maybe she's never been a safety first, ask questions. Like, she's always been like super impulsive and gung-ho, and maybe she's kind of learned that that's not the best way to keep safe in a world full of magic.
She's gotten blasted backwards onto her keister enough times now that she's a little protective.
Yeah.
I wonder if she would be able to come back into Storybrooke, though, because that any barrier has never really existed for her.
I think so. I think she would be the one who could go back and forth. If Rumpel can't, then no one else can. Except maybe, well, no, Regina didn't cast this curse.
No.
But then again, this spell was also kind of created to keep Emma and Elsa in as well. So maybe Emma can't leave. And it would be the first time that she's trapped as well.
It's weird, the very specific, what did they call it, remnants of her magic? It's very specific what those remnants happen to be in this episode.
It's very convenient what they happen to be.
Yes, very convenient.
Made Marion cough, cough.
Right. I have to point out what Ozgirl just said in our chat room. She said she feels like there's a vocab word for every half season, and last year it was simian. I do remember complaining about simian.
Yep.
And this year it's cleave.
Cleave.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, speaking of cleaving, the Queens of Darkness are cleaving together. Wait.
Oh, I'm not sure where you're going with that.
The word cleave can mean to separate and to be together. That's one of those really weird words. It's
like
just
Miss
lousy.
Lousy with magic.
But
However you look at it, the show's got a lot of cleavage.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The Queens of Darkness are, or as we called them in the initial reactions, Rumpel's angels. Maleficent is looking a lot more Angelina Jolie in this time.
Well,
Are you at all surprised?
she's looking more Maleficent.
True.
Like, that's how she looked in
Yeah.
the cartoon of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick up the Angelina Jolie one at all.
Oh, I did.
Well, yeah.
When they had her walk out from behind that rock, it looks exactly like a scene in Maleficent.
Even
Right, but
the
I'm
lips.
talking about like costume and everything like that. That's more movie than it was. That's how I separate them.
Yeah. Well, I think a way that this might make more sense, though, is all the times that we've seen Maleficent before this, those very few times, actually, besides when she was a dragon, but the times that we've seen her had been right before the curse, either when Charming went to put the egg in her or when we saw Maleficent and Regina fight it out. Those were very close to the curse, and those were after the moments when Maleficent lost her love and all of this happened. All of this stuff with Aurora probably happened after what we see here in this flashback. So my thinking is this Maleficent is the powerful, the confident, nothing can stop me. She is at the top of her game. That's why she looks this way in this episode, in these flashbacks. But in other episodes we've seen, the flashbacks have been chronologically at least a year, probably 3 years after this, 2 or 3 years. And that might be when Maleficent is a bit more defeated, so she changes her wardrobe to what we're more familiar with from Once Upon a Time Maleficent.
Yeah.
Kind of like that theory, but you just brought up an interesting question in my head. We kind of know Maleficent's end. So if Rumple has 2 more stops to make, that was meant, it seemed, to imply Maleficent, but seems like it couldn't be.
It could also be like a stop for another person and then a stop for something that he needs to get back into Storybrooke with them.
Could be, but the whole thing that was going on right there, that montage that they had going with his little speech to the 3 potential students, maybe they were students of his at one point, I don't know. It seemed kind of like it. But he was talking about he would never team up with them. And here he is at the aquarium teaming up with Ursula and saying we have 2 more stops. Cruella, easily somewhere in our world, probably. But Maleficent is the odd one out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because she, last time we saw her, she was this ghost in the bottom of the mines that Hook faced with a taser, probably.
Well, it's under the library. Maybe some of the books are written in squid ink.
Or blood magic.
But then again, there could be something about, with the way that the multiple curses went back and forth and such, maybe Maleficent somehow got to our world through a different means and not the most recent curse. So maybe she was still alive even after Hook did his whole thing. And maybe she made it to our world somehow with one of the curse switches.
How did they get to our world? That's my thing. Like, we know how the Snow Queen got here was through that portal door. So how did, after the curse, did they all get to our world?
Right. Well,
And does that
Gareth...
mean there's more characters living in our world?
Yeah. People like the dragon or like anyone else that we haven't met yet.
Yeah.
Next
Gareth said
season.
this. So far, we only know that Ursula is outside of Storybrooke. Since Rumpel cannot return to Storybrooke, and he said they had 2 more stops to make, we assume that the others are outside of Storybrooke as well. Maleficent used to be in Storybrooke, so if she is outside, she must have found a way to leave. Perhaps she flew over the ice wall or vaporized some flying monkeys. With magic, it is possible that she could have crossed the town line at several different points. Rumpel found a way as far back as Season 2. By extension, it is possible that Cruella and Ursula also started in Storybrooke and left at some point, possibly to await the right time to put their plans into action. Regina and Rumpel both would have had motivation to include Ursula in the Dark Curse if they could have managed it. I can't think of any other options for how Cruella got here. Ursula potentially could have swarmed here. Mermaids can cross worlds under the sea, so presumably the Sea Witch / Sea Goddess could as well. Yeah, Gareth, I think those are some good suggestions there, especially when it comes to Ursula, that maybe she just can do it.
But why would she cross realms to work at an aquarium as a food fish dispenser?
That's an excellent question.
Go ahead.
Going back to Maleficent really quick, there was a theory that Matthew Paul brought up quite a bit in the forums, and it's the idea that when Snow and Charming cast the Dark Curse back in Season 3 and recreated Storybrooke, they literally recreated the entire town, meaning that they recreated it as it originally was. So Maleficent might still be under the library, having been recreated in dragon form.
But that's magic, bringing someone back from the dead.
Unless she was never
dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was Ghost Maleficent, but that
she
could
was
be
just reconstituted.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some magical hand waving when it comes to Maleficent. Like, quite a bit magical hand waving.
Yeah, we'll see. I took issue with Ursula being in green. I don't know if anybody else did. And that they keep calling, like we have established, I know even when we did the movie review, it's Maleficent, and they keep calling her Maleficent in this show. That annoys me. Things like that annoy me. Sorry.
Sorry, we didn't
Ursula
hear
is a
any of
giant
that.
green thing.
I have issues with those weird tentacles that come out of her body, like, and choke people. That was just weird.
Right, especially when she wraps them around like her throat and is told, crush her heart. That's not where the heart is usually. I guess it could be if you're scared.
Well, there was more than one.
There was, that's true.
Um, I'm so excited that I can now talk about Cruella de Vil and Ursula because I saw that when I was in Steveston and had to put a lid on it and not spoil for anybody else, even when Emma got a Dalmatian out of the machine last week.
I knew
All
it.
I could say was, yeah, it was a Dalmatian. There's a movie about Dalmatians.
Yep.
The little Dalmatian was so cute.
Speaking of that Dalmatian, can Cruella turn herself into a Dalmatian? Because if she can, I don't know how I feel about that. Because that's how it seemed to present.
One of
Well,
our other
nothing
listeners,
is
Chris
impossible in
Tipton,
Wonderland.
suggested that as well, in fact.
Yeah, there's been a couple suggestions that Belle was lured into the woods by that puppy dog, who then turned itself into Cruella de Vil, and Cruella, now not a canine, kidnapped Belle.
Does anyone have any theories as to why these three villainesses decided, hey, Rumpelstiltskin, the dark one, is one of the most cold-hearted, evil villains in all the realms. Let's capture his maid. I'm sure he'll absolutely capitulate to save the life of the help.
Right.
It kind of worked for them for
No.
a little bit there. Like, they did have him squirming.
Yeah, but I just don't know how they predicted that.
That's true. Well, maybe
They
they've
just have
been spying
spies.
on him. Yeah.
Yes.
Because, Belle wasn't talking to herself. She knows that Rumpel was listening.
Perhaps not only he listens.
Yeah.
Well, and in our initial reactions, we questioned whether Cruella has magic. And Jeremy, you brought up the point that it might not have been Cruella that actually poofed away herself. And now rewatching this episode, if you watch carefully, you see Cruella look over at Maleficent. Maleficent waves her hand, and then Ursula, then Cruella, and then Maleficent poof away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's very possible that
All the same color magic, because we know it's all color-coded.
Yeah. It's possible then that Maleficent is the only magical one. Cruella just really seems out of place in Enchanted Forest. Like, she seems from
Yeah.
our world.
Well, she's
What
from
if she
fictional
is?
London.
Yeah, or fictional London.
Maybe fictional London. Or what if she is actually from our world?
Yeah, desperation and gin.
Yep.
And apparently she thinks she's taller than she is, making short jokes at Rumple. She wasn't even the tallest of the three women, I don't think.
A crazy theory that Chris Tipton suggested is maybe Cruella de Vil is also Lily, because remember, Lilith is a demon, and Cruella de Vil, devil. That whole thing, and also that
Different
cliff that they met on.
ethnic backgrounds, but okay.
Yeah, I think completely different connections there, ethnic backgrounds. Yeah, all of that. I don't think.
But, transforming back and forth between, like, human and dog might do something to your DNA.
Yeah.
That's possible.
It'd be
But
interesting.
if she can be a puppy, that's gonna butcher the story of the puppies.
No pun intended. Butcher. Yeah,
that's
I
what
think
she was
that'd be
gonna
very-
do for them, wasn't it?
I mean, once she's walked a mile on their paws, I think she wouldn't want to make them into furs.
Yeah. I hope though that means there's gonna be lots of puppies in the next half of the season because they're cute. Little Dalmatian puppies.
What if they're evil?
They're not evil, Jeremy. They're puppies.
What if they're mythical Dalmatian beasts?
Well, Pongo seems pretty
Well, that's true.
evil.
Oh, yeah. Do we get to see him again?
I
And well-
wondered if that puppy we saw was actually Pongo, but the collar is different. But we really can't tell anything from a collar.
I completely forgot about that.
Hold on, guys. We lost Jacqueline.
Oh, I wondered why we were just sort of going on and on about puppies.
Because
So-
they're cute and those blue eyes were gorgeous. They just stared at you like, "Hi."
I had like one of those Disney, like, you know,
What was
like
that again?
the big like beach towels with the Disney prints
Hmm?
prints on it, and one was from 101 Dalmatians, and I was like highly offended for my entire childhood that the collars were the reverse colors than they were supposed to be on Pongo and Purdy.
How can you
Like
get a
Pongo's
detail like
was
that
blue.
wrong?
Like I right?
The illustrator was just like, oh boy, blue.
And I was probably like 6, and I was just like, this is wrong because in the movie, Pongo's collar is not blue.
All right, here's what we're going to need to do. Let me
Hand
do
waving.
this. Let me do this. John, I placed this marker right here because I need to tell you something. We lost Jacqueline, so go back a little bit,
Not permanently, she's lost.
and up until this point, next time you hear Jacqueline, you'll be able to use her audio, but I think we're probably lost her audio up until this point, so you'll have to use the audio from my recording. But that'll be fun. Unless we just start over, but I don't want to start over.
Can't we just resync?
Yeah,
should
we'll
we
resync
stop our
and move
recording?
on.
Oh, okay.
Should we stop our recording, Daniel?
No, go ahead and leave your recorder running.
Okay.
If you all turn off your recorders and turn them back on at the same time and just do a part 2, that would work, right?
Jacqueline said
Maybe.
her computer just shut itself off.
Mm.
Oh, fun.
So we did definitely lose her audio, I'm guessing.
Oh, as in it's not saved, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you meant past, not future.
Well, yeah, past. But
It's unfortunate.
I'm copying it here. I'm recording it. It just won't be the best quality,
Right.
and it might have some crosstalk then
Right.
with it. But
Oh yeah.
it's better to just work with what we can and move on, and then fix it.
Mhm.
Now moving on.
I
Don't have
agree.
to redo it.
I can't start over.
Yeah.
Can you explain again how we're doing the points? So after Jeremy does a point, then I'm supposed to bring up one of my themes?
Right. Well, right now we're still kind of talking about. I started it off with talking about Rumpel's Angels, Queens of Darkness,
Yeah. Okay.
and
And I had that, so I just crossed all that off on my.
What was the command again? It was command what?
Command Enter marks it as complete.
Okay.
It's
should-
control even on the Mac for me.
Oh yeah, that works too.
Okay.
Windows Control Enter. Which actually, looking at it, I guess we covered everything I had under that point.
We basically did for me. I mean, I had a couple things about the that was my. All of this fell under new villains for me.
Oh, it fell under Rumpel, and new villains. I had like a subcategory, so I just crossed that off.
Yeah, I
But
wasn't paying
still
attention to
had-
that. I was like, well, we're talking and we're hitting points, so I'm just crossing them off. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
where we
same
are.
That's
here.
fine. That's fine.
And I've only been podcasting for a year and a half with you guys to not have known Control Enter yet.
Oh well, I've never talked about it before. We don't use it that often.
I think like one
Is
time you
anyone
tried
going to
to
be
tell me.
talking about how, like, theories that they're going to get back into Storybrooke?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think that's the last thing we could talk about on this point of how they'll get back in.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just wanted, because that's one of my points, and I didn't know.
It was actually, I actually didn't even have, I kind of made a 5th theme, but to do 5 themes, I didn't have a lot for 5. Maybe I just put too much in one category.
Yeah, I'll not mark the feedback complete, Jack. Or actually, Jack, as long as in the upper right corner it says completed visible, you'll see everything. You'll just see an X through the main point, the main text. So if it says completed hidden, click on that and it will change to completed visible. I should have typed that because that'll take 60 seconds. at least get her. That's okay.
Is it a 1 minute delay?
On the video, yeah.
Wow.
I think she listens on the audio.
Oh crap. I went to take that and I hit with my thumb instead, which is right on the sleep wake.
I am in a different room today, and it is freezing.
Freezing.
It's actually cold
But-
here. I got to wear a sweatshirt yesterday, and I was cold, and I was so excited.
Shut up.
Like, I had a reason to get hot chocolate at Starbucks. It was great.
Well, you know what? The cold never bothered me anyway, but
Yeah.
I'm really cold right now. My 2-year-old nephew is sleeping in the room that I usually use.
Like, everyone talks about San Diego and how much they love the weather, and I'm like, you have to live in it. When if you like the cold, it's not the best place to live.
Cool.
True dat.
Don't you guys, though, aren't you guys pretty, wait, San Diego, no, never mind. I'm thinking San Francisco.
Oh yeah, no, we're right. We are literally like 15 miles from Mexico. So, we're way down there.
Like Veronica Mars. I wish Veronica Mars was still on so that we could do a podcast about that show.
Be careful what you wish for.
Aren't they making a movie?
They did.
Oh, they
the
did make
biggest Kickstarter ever. I have a sticker that says I saved Veronica Mars on Kickstarter.
Wow.
Okay, that show was brilliant.
I never watched it. I wonder if it's on Netflix. I need a new show.
It is, and it's also like $10 a season at Target if you want to invest.
Well, see, the problem is if it's on DVD, then I don't want to get up and change the DVD. I like my Netflix
okay.
because I have the Apple TV, so I can just sit there
Yeah.
from my bed and change it.
It might be. They might have put it on Netflix right before the thing started. Oh, Jacqueline's back. Hunter,
are
I
you
can
back?
send you the pilot if you want.
I have no idea what just
Okay.
happened. That was one of like the single scariest moments of my life. Um,
I'm glad.
I'm worried
Wait.
that my computer's getting
Good way.
overly hot or something. I don't know. So I have my AC on now.
Okay.
I'm
Um,
That
Is
was terrifying.
so your computer completely lost power.
It just shut off. It's at a full battery too.
Hmm.
Is it
It-
sitting on like material? Like, is it sitting on like a hard surface or on like a pillow?
It's sitting on a hard surface.
Okay, because
It's sitting on my desk.
okay,
Hmm.
because that used to happen to me if I had it on like a pillow with no cooling deck underneath.
Mac or Windows? I can't remember.
Mac.
Okay.
Oh,
Huh.
then I don't know.
So basically, it shut off completely. I don't even have the Audacity that we just recorded.
Yeah. We can work that out. That's okay. So go ahead and start Audacity back up, and we'll just pick up where we left off. We were talking about puppies.
Are we gonna resync with claps or
Yes.
what? Okay. You just let me know, Daniel.
Talking about
actually-
puppies.
We only need Jacqueline to resync with the clap because Hunter and Aaron, you didn't stop your recordings, right?
Right.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. So
It's still going.
okay.
Oh.
So Jacqueline, I'll just use the backup audio to move on. It might be a little complicated, but
It says some projects were not saved properly the last time Audacity was run. Fortunately, the following projects can automatically be recovered. It gives today's date. Do you want me to recover projects?
yes, recover.
Always pick recover.
Recover the project.
And
Pipe down, Jeremy.
yeah, when that is finished recovering, just start a new Audacity project and don't close that other one because ultimately I'll want you to save that one too, export it as well, just in case it is salvageable.
Okay. Sorry, my nerves now are like shot. Like, my computer is my life, and
Yeah.
it's not as if I can buy a new one
Right.
or anything.
Deep breath.
Um,
Deep.
yeah, it's giving me the spinning wheel of death at the moment.
On Audacity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything
Do you have
coding that isn't
GarageBand? Did you
normally?
just want to open that one?
I don't think I have that.
What computer do you have?
I have a Mac, but I'm pretty sure that I got rid of a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it says Audacity not responding.
Okay, go ahead and force quit it and open Audacity again. And this time, don't worry about recovering the audio, because it sounds like it might not work. And this, fans who watch us only on YouTube, is the behind-the-scenes stuff.
The BTS.
Are we not broadcasting right now?
No, we are still
Oh,
broadcasting.
okay.
It's just the YouTube video is going to have all of this, unless I go back and edit it out.
But and the chat room's hearing all of this too.
Yeah.
Hi, chat room. Thank you for your patience. We'll
Sorry,
be with you
guys.
shortly.
Just let me know when it's back up.
Thank you for your patience with Jacqueline, everyone.
Okay,
I'm just
Well, they're
kidding.
putting up with us in the meantime. So.
Thank you for your patience
not
with my
recover.
streams singing and sniffling while we wait.
Right, do not recover.
Do not recover.
I was wrong. I'm sorry. I led you astray. Recover's not always. the
okay, and then do you want me to start re-recording?
Yeah, make sure you've got the right mic set
Yeah.
still, and start recording again.
Maybe
Okay,
your computer just
it's
suffered
recording.
cute overload.
All right,
Because we were talking about puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Jacqueline, give me a clap. All right. Let me do a sponsorship thing here, and that'll help get us back on track.
Are you gonna segue it with cute puppies?
Yes.
Just
Of
making
course.
sure.
Speaking of things you can make from puppies.
No.
That's so wrong.
Not for Cruella.
Here we go.
Poker
Let me
face.
do this. Speaking of cute puppies, something that's even more rewarding and more exciting for us to receive than a cute puppy is your kind contributions that help make this podcast possible. Thank you. This episode, Steve Johnson and David Newland, we really appreciate the support. And you hear their names a lot. They're subscribers, and they signed up for an automatic monthly donation to the podcast, and that's what really helps us the best. So thank you very much, Steve and David. And we've had many other donators in the past. If you would like to donate to the podcast to support what we're doing, because it does cost quite a bit to keep this coming to you, you've got several options. Go over to oncepodcast.com/sponsor, and you can check out how to donate on a one-time basis of any amount, or an automatic monthly donation, which is what helps us the most, a per-episode donation, which is available through Patreon, and we have 13 Patreon backers over there, so thank you very much. We've been able to upgrade our chat room now. And the other way is that you can do your shopping through Amazon at any time of the year. Anytime you want to buy something from Amazon, go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor and click on the appropriate Amazon link for your country. And then a portion of your purchase comes back to support the podcast, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. So there are several options for you to support the podcast. Please consider it if you enjoy the show. Go over to oncepodcast.com/sponsor. Even if you can't donate to the podcast, we always appreciate your feedback and your support of the podcast by sharing our links, tweeting, retweeting, sharing on all of the social networks. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. The last thing I think to talk about with the Queens of Darkness is their end game that they have in mind. Namely, how are they going to get back into Storybrooke? Because it seems like that's what Rumpel wants to do, right?
That's not their end game.
Well, their end game is a happy ending.
Right.
Yeah. But to get that probably means they all need to get back into Storybrooke.
Maybe.
Probably.
I think Hook's gonna hook. I think Rumpel's gonna go into advertising. He was on Madison Avenue.
How did he get the money to buy his new clothes and his
He's Rumpelstiltskin. He probably made a deal.
Well,
Oh, it is.
does he still have magic outside?
I don't
See,
think
this
so.
is really confusing me, and this is what has confused me all season with Rumple's storyline. I don't get it. I've been really unhappy with what they've done to Rumple this season, and I don't get it. So he wants to cleave himself from the dagger, but he still wants to keep all his magic so that he can have it all, but he wants to take Belle out into the real world so that he can show her everything, but that automatically means he loses his magic. So I really do not understand the purpose of Rumple's arc this season, and I know I'm not the only one. There have been a lot of really unhappy people with what they've done with Rumple.
But if he had not had an unsuccessful cleaving, he would have been able to leave with his power, yes?
Probably. And
But see,
remember,
they
his
don't
dagger is still in Storybrooke right
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, with Belle.
Yeah. I don't know.
See, they never fully explained, A, what he was trying to do, and B, his motivations behind it. They kind of just kept saying that he's a selfish guy and that he wants it all, which means Belle and power. But, I mean, he just came across as kind of just super duper evil this entire season. And even when he was doing really horrible things in the past, there was always a well-written reason, namely balefire.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, this season it's just power for the sake of power, and he's never been that way. And, like, I've had so many issues with what they've done to Rumple this season. I thought about changing my username. I thought about not being Rumple's girl anymore.
Well, he chose power over Bay.
Yeah.
And then he chose Bay over power in episode 315, Quiet
It's true.
Minds.
It's
And
true.
nobody is bringing that up. Every single time Belle said something like, you've never chosen me over power, my first thought was, Belle, you were standing right there when he threw the dagger to Zelina. And, you know, you watched him kill himself.
Right.
I don't know. I've become very frustrated with Rumple's arc this season.
That's some good points.
Or it's kind of a what's in it for Rumple, and that's what he's always after, is what's in it for him. At times, yes, he tried to be good, tried to turn over a new leaf, but then those nasty habits keep coming in, and now he's just fully embracing that again. So he's a bit bipolar in some ways.
But he never even talks about sort of like his impetus for wanting to do this outside of power. If he had sat down and said, I have been, you know, psychologically damaged from coming back from the dead and being held captive by the Wicked Witch, which he did mention in this episode, but then the big giant elephant in the room that no one talks about, oh, and by the way, I lost my son that I'd been searching for 300 years, you know, that at least gives him that sympathetic bent that I'm used to having from Rumple. There was none of that this season.
No. They've kind of changed the language, I've noticed, that they're using when it comes to heroes and villains this season. So in season 1, for sure, I actually just watched this like mashup that I made of all the times they repeated the same lines over and over again throughout season 1 and 2. And it was like, good always defeats evil. Good always wins. Good always defeats evil, over and over and over again. Henry and Snow and Charming and even Emma. Like, even before Emma believed in all of this, she was all good always wins. And then now they're not saying good wins. Now they're focusing on evil loses. Like, they're not saying good wins anymore. They're saying villains always lose, and we're not standing for that anymore. So they're really kind of shifting the focus of the show, at least like in a language sense. They're shifting the focus from these are the heroes and of course they're going to win to these are the villains and they all have stories and we're going to tell them, and don't you think they should win too?
That's a really good point, and actually that brings up something I know I wanted to touch on that ties into that, which is something that Regina has been saying all season, and then something that the Queens of Darkness talked about, which is that they were written as villains. Regina keeps saying things like the book made me a villain.
Yeah.
And that flies completely in the face of everything Adam and Eddie have always said, which is that evil isn't born, it's made.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
And
pretty
now
sure
it's like,
slaughtering a village of innocent people
Right?
made you a villain.
I do not have amnesia. I remember the village full of dead people. I remember Rumple killing the maid. I remember Hook selling Bay to Peter Pan. I remember these things, but they keep acting as though this omnipotent, omniscient author, who I guess is going to be our insertion of God into Once Upon a Time, is actually controlling and writing everything. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. Okay, that was RG's rant of the podcast. If you're a member of the forum, you've heard it all before.
That's great.
Well,
Well-
and the book, they've shown that the book shows both. Like the page that
Right.
Regina has could have been possible were it not for her choice to run from that. Like she made that
Right.
choice.
Yeah, so they've already given us
Right, but
reason
then
to
they
not
turn around.
think that it's set in stone just because it's written in the book, or
Yeah.
that the book controls it.
I think the book is somebody is recording the choices that they make and the consequences thereafter. So
I think
if
I think that
Regina-
makes
the
sense.
books.
Regina stops making bad choices, she will stop being a villain.
And it's not even just Regina, though. Henry is saying this stuff, too. He keeps saying stuff like, you know, the book made my mom a villain, or this book got it all wrong. And I'm like, no, Henry, your mom did do these things.
Yeah, Henry's never been the sharpest knife in the drawer.
But he had a concept of good versus evil.
That's true.
You know, you go back to season 1, my mom's the evil queen.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, and speaking of evil queen, she seems to be actually,
Reformed.
yes, reformed,
Yeah.
redeemed, unlike Rumple. So Rumple
And this episode
tried
really
to tempt
showed
her to
that.
go back. Yeah, there was a contrast. The whole scene with Rumple and Regina in the car was like the contrast. Here's the one that made it, and here's the one who hasn't yet.
Yeah.
And it's just by what they decided on, because like Regina is now making decisions that help others instead of just herself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
She had that look on her face for a second after he got out of the car. She needs to stay away from him.
Yeah.
It was like she was going to do something to Marion, which really, let's imagine the consequence of that. Go take your happy ending. So she goes and kills Marion. Is that going to produce a happy ending? No. She did the right thing, and it was
Yeah.
actually kind of cool to see.
Her character, like if you do want to, look at a good character arc this season, over the last 2 seasons, I'd say actually, like she has. I was worried that this season was going to be her going back and forth again, and oh, am I good? Oh, am I evil? I can't make up my
Mhm.
mind. Oh, it's Snow White. I don't like her, so I'm going to take her heart. She's been very true to her changing or evolving, as Rumpel said.
And what I thought was interesting, too, about her momentary struggle with deciding whether to do something to take a happy ending is that we know watching it that she did the right thing, but sometimes they put these little ideological things into the show that don't work even with the truth that they play out later. So Robin is saying he has to live truthfully and follow his heart, but the heart is not necessarily good by nature. And so I thought it was very strange. I mean, it sounds good. It's kind of a feel-good thing, but I thought that this was a great example of where that wouldn't be a good thing. So if Regina had lived truthfully and followed her heart, she would have gotten out of that car and just killed Marion and said, all right, that's out of the way. Let's go be a family.
Yeah, and I know several of the listeners resonate with that feeling of it's a really messed up situation. It's messy because that's what happens. Kids don't time travel. This kind of thing happens.
Well,
but
like I said before, it's not fair. It's not even a real situation. So we're trying to pull out the morals of this situation, and it's not even a thing that can be. It's not fair.
Jessica O said, I do want Robin and Regina to end up together, but not with Marion hanging around. Although I thought Marion handled everything quite nicely, though, and it made me like her more. I don't think having Marion leave with someone else would have been a good option. Roland would then be saying goodbye to one of his parents and making Marion or Robin choose who he stayed with wouldn't have been a good idea. I definitely don't want this to be the last time we see Robin this season, so I'm hoping that it will play into the story coming this second half, like you suggested. At the very least, I would hope they find their way back to Storybrooke with Rumple somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That right there gives me an idea.
Oh.
What if that's somehow Rumple's way into Storybrooke? Is the supposed true love between Robin and Regina?
Maybe.
I don't know how that would work.
I feel like it's not going to be as complicated for them to get back in as we're thinking.
They always find a way to defeat the barrier.
I can picture like the four of them like heading over to the town line, all holding hands, and poof, they're like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it is complicated, but I feel like if there's going to be a full story arc next season with all of these villains, it can't be too long before they are back in Storybrooke. Like Emma, they can't have a normal life for very long.
Like, why didn't Emma and Regina and Elsa, while they had her, just give it a good Care Bear stare? At least try.
Right? We've got Guard Heart Bear, Ice Heart Bear, and I don't know what Regina could be.
Dark Heart Bear.
Dark Heart Bear. I felt as soon as Regina said, "Oh, the diner down the street that she was sending Robin Hood to," I was like, oh, that poor diner. Like that's probably where Pinocchio took baby Emma. That's probably like just all of the weirdos from Storybrooke in their still like fairy tale outfits end up at this poor diner down the street.
Why didn't someone give them real clothes?
Well, nobody gave Anna and Elsa real clothes the whole time either.
Marion's the only one in weird
but they were in Storybrooke. They didn't leave. No, Roland's. No, they still kind of got their like merry men outfits on.
Their camping gear.
Those clothes are totally from the Gap.
Yeah,
they just look a little woodsman-y.
Leather jackets and such. Yeah.
They are in a hunting community, probably.
Well, leaving Storybrooke, at least as we know it, means you can't come back in. And apparently, Jacqueline just left Storybrooke as well because she's not going to be able to join us for the rest of the podcast. We lost her. She's still alive. Don't worry. But so you're going to hear an absence of Jacqueline's voice for the rest of the podcast, just in case you think we're keeping her silent or she's gone mute. But we'll have to press on without her.
She dropped the mic and walked away.
Find your way back to us.
She's gone like Rumpelstiltskin.
Ooh.
Oh,
So-
how about that scene between Belle and Rumple?
Oh, so painful.
It gave me flashbacks from Buffy the Vampire Slayer's season 2 finale, where Buffy had to kill Angel to save the world. Very similar parallels, and there was a pointy object involved.
I think that whole thing, it showed that Belle is stronger and much smarter than we ever give her credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was happy because it's so frustrating we know more than she did, obviously, but it's so frustrating to watch somebody in a relationship like that and just be constantly, lied to and taken advantage of and not do anything about it, or just be so blinded to it that they don't take any action. And I also really enjoyed the acting in this scene, which I'm as I've said, I'm a fan of Emily DeRavin, but I'm not a huge fan of how she portrays Belle sometimes. So this was really good. It was it made me feel emotional, and I don't actually like Rumbelle all that much, so it was good.
Yeah, I agree. It was very, very well done.
In some of the spoilers, we knew that Belle was going to have a much bigger part, but did not see this coming with her pushing him over the line.
Yeah. And it's because she used the gauntlet first. That was her first thing. I think
Yeah.
what might have happened with her use of the gauntlet is she found that and just thought, oh, I wonder what this would point to. It probably points to me.
Mhm.
And then she discovered, nope, it didn't. By the way, I gotta say, I know a lot of the fans are kind of upset about the gauntlet thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're lumping it up there with the magical taser.
Why?
Because why a gauntlet? Like in our forums over at oncepodcast.com, several have been pointing out all of the other things that could be used from Camelot that would have been a lot more fitting for this idea. Why a gauntlet? I think maybe the reason with the gauntlet is a finger can point
Yeah.
at something.
Is there an example? I'm not that Camelot familiar.
Well, like anything Merlin's sword or like Merlin kind of things. Sword in the stone.
Could they possibly want to save some of these artifacts for a more important story?
Yeah.
Plus, they've already done a faux sword of stone.
Are we gonna go see Camelot? That's
Maybe.
what I want to know. Because we've already met Lancelot, so now we need to see like King Arthur and Merlin and.
We met Cora.
Well, if we get to meet the author's backstory, I think we might be going to Camelot. Because I think the author is Merlin or Yensid. I mean, they might merge those two together.
They might.
So, yeah, I think we'll eventually go to Camelot.
I'm going to need to brush up, and by brush up, I mean learn anything at all about Camelot, if that's going to happen. Do you guys think that Rumpelstiltskin was really afraid at the end? Or do you think he was just pulling Belle's heartstrings?
He's pretty much a coward, though.
True. I was so confused why he toppled over, and I'm like, oh yeah, the cane thing. Crushed leg.
Evidence that he doesn't have magic.
Yeah.
And one thing that Jacqueline did want to make sure that her voice was represented was to say Robert Carlyle is a genius.
It's true.
It's very true. I was quite disappointed that I did not meet him when I was in Steveston. But I was like 20 feet away from him, so I'm counting that as something.
He sensed your presence.
He sensed my presence for sure.
Erin, let's go to one of your things.
Okay. I'm not good at segues. Hardy Hook.
Yeah. Do you want me to segue?
Sure. I was thinking, but...
One person who's probably very glad that Rumple is gone would be Hook from this, because Hook has been Rumple's, henchman now for a few episodes.
Which I would like to point out that when Rumple was speaking into Hook's heart, there was kind of this swirling darkness, which is consistent with. They didn't talk about it, but it was consistent with the rest of the plot. So I was grateful for the consistency.
Actually, every time we saw Hook's heart in this episode, there was darkness in it.
Yes, but that's the only time I noticed.
I liked that scene. I think it was really well acted between the two. Like, I know they weren't in the same room or whatever, but playing off each other, kind of, they were acting like Rumple was speaking for Hook. I was wondering if, like, what do you guys think of Hook grabbing Emma's arm? Was that him trying to indicate to her that something was wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like he was fighting against it himself, and that was just the most he could do.
It's it's classic when your actual consciousness is repressed by a foreign consciousness, sometimes you can fight your way out.
Yeah.
Happens more in sci-fi than fantasy, though.
I was a little bit confused about the portal that Rumpel so handily knew about when he looked for a portal for 300 years that would get him to this land, and we know that that portal gets him to this land because that's how the Snow Queen got here.
Right.
Did he just like stumble upon that earlier this season in a deleted scene that we maybe weren't privy to, or
I
don't
think the
know.
broom led him to it just then, right?
I guess so, but
Yeah, and also I think he gave the information in this episode. Realize this. He didn't know about this abandoned manor until this season.
It wasn't
Right.
there, was the implication.
Yeah. And he didn't know whose house it was until more recently. And he didn't know how Ingrid got to our world, that it was through the Sorcerer's Apprentice's help
Mm-hmm.
until very recently. And that's what led him to the conclusion of, well, if the sorcerer sent Ingrid here, then he probably has some portal hidden in his house.
I think the big problem. You know what? I've just jumped ships slightly. Not really ships. I'm not going to go full blown sneaky fairy. Is that what they call her?
Yeah.
But it is her fault. She was too ignorant. She said the only way for him to get to our world was the Dark Curse. Clearly, that was not the case. If she had known a little bit more about magical realm jumping, none of this might have ever happened.
and since she's supposed to be like the be all and end all of magic in the Enchanted Forest, you'd think maybe she would have mentioned that.
She's the oldest magic. Well, maybe in her day that was the only way, but not anymore, sister.
Somebody, I was just at a work Christmas party, and one of my coworkers was like, "Aaron, what about the Blue Fairy? Like, how they? We gotta get, like, they're out of the hat. Where'd they go? Like, what's gonna happen to all those people in the hat?" So I told her I'd bring it up in the podcast, and I said probably they'll wrap that up next episode, but I don't really know. It was pretty. It was a pretty CGI effect when Rumpel opened the hat, but yes, then nothing happened.
Actually, I would say a lot of the CGI and visual effects in this episode seemed better to me. Especially, I noticed the lighting back in Arendelle looked a lot more natural than usual. Like the color and the white balance and that kind of lighting.
Yeah.
Just, it looked a lot more like they were actually in this scene.
Right.
Maybe they saved up
Yeah.
for this episode so they could properly fund their CGI attempts.
I did kind of want to see Rumpel get all of this freedom and get the power of the hat. I didn't want to see Hook be killed, though, and yeah, I know those two things have to go together.
You realize Belle saved Hook's life.
Yeah,
Aw,
that's true.
because it's Belle.
Because it's Belle, even though he tried to kill her like 2 times.
Oh. Once
So-
you find something that's worth fighting for, you never give up. I don't know if that doesn't really work, but Belle said it, so
Nice Belle quote. Thanks.
yeah.
Speaking
Like that
of
quote.
Speaking of never giving up, we are recording this just before Merry Christmas, so in advance, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Just
And-
before Merry Christmas.
And one of the things that people do around New Year's is they make New Year's resolutions, something they want to accomplish in the year. And let's be honest, a lot of us don't keep our New Year's resolutions, if we even bother to make them.
Look at Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you about a resolution you can keep, and that is go to lynda.com/once. That's lynda.com/once. Lynda.com is an online training service that is our sponsor for this episode. They have an amazing resource of new things that you can learn, and you can learn very quickly. You can take your time to learn at your own pace. Over 4,500 courses with more than 100,000 video tutorials taught by top experts. You could learn something like how to make special effects. So maybe you could eventually end up working for ABC or working on your favorite TV show sometime. Maybe you could learn how to make and produce your own TV shows and movies and cinematography and all of that.
Basic locator spells taught by Rumpelstiltskin himself.
Blood magic.
Not a real course. You could also learn the behind-the-scenes stuff like video editing or photography or other things like design, business, marketing, all kinds of things. Check it out. And here's what's really cool is you can check this out for free. You get a 10-day free trial if you go to lynda.com/once. Once again, that's lynda.com/once, and try it for 10 days. Check out all of the courses they have. Pick something that you are going to learn in 2015 and go to lynda.com/once and learn it there. There are so many awesome things here that you could spend all of 2015 learning amazing things. But I really highly recommend you pick something that you're passionate about and learn it. Make that your New Year's resolution in 2015. Challenge yourself to learn something new. So go to lynda.com/once and snag that free 10-day trial and make 2015 an amazing year for you of learning and doing something new. Once again, lynda.com/once.
Who do you think Linda was over in the Enchanted Forest?
Someone who taught everyone amazing skills and talents and taught all of the heroes everything they know.
Indeed.
And actually, I'm going to have that edited out.
Why?
Sorry.
Why?
Sorry, I hit my mic by
There's
accident.
no good reason.
Yeah, okay, I think it can stay. It can stay, John.
What happened?
But just sometimes I'm a little cautious about what we should or shouldn't say about sponsors.
Oh.
But I think
The
I'll be
Rumble
okay.
Fields
Yeah.
game.
I've heard others, let's say, ad-lib quite a bit at the end of their sponsorships
Yeah.
with Linda.
Okay. Hunter, let's go to one of the
Yes.
things we have.
Okay. So we were talking about the house and how it's just like sitting there in the middle, like the sorcerer's house. So I really think that we're not finished with him. We've got so much more to learn. Like, who, where, what is he? Is it he? Is it like we don't know anything about this sorcerer? Because his house is just sitting there filled with stuff. So it's
Yeah.
got to have more fun things in it.
Well, and
Um,
the big reveal at the end too with the library that Henry
I
found.
know. Because those are all empty books. So think of all the stories that still need to be written.
So when we wonder what Henry does all day, he does things like this. He stayed behind in the mansion, and none of the adults noticed that he stayed behind in the magical mansion.
Right.
And he went around apparently pulling on all the fixtures. Because somehow at some point, he found this secret passage at the end of the hallway.
What would you do in a magical mansion,
Probably
Jeremy?
not that. I might open the cupboards, look in the rooms. I don't know if I would pull on every light fixture in every hallway. I might if I were
But-
Henry.
Castles and stuff.
Yeah.
He grew up thinking he's a fairy tale character. for his novel.
When Jenny watched
he-
with us, she pointed out that it was very much Indiana Jones-like.
When the wall turned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't ever
And
seen
my
it.
other big thing with the whole sorcerer is, do we think that he's going to be the key to helping to because of that hat that, like, because Rumples doesn't have the hat anymore, so the hat is still in Storybrooke.
Right.
So are they going to let out the blue fairy and all them and let everyone help, or
What did they
I
do
have-
with the hat?
It's just
That's
there.
what I'm saying.
Well, I guess
I'm-
the other heroes picked it up after they poofed.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if anyone can get everyone out, it would have to be the sorcerer. His apprentice is in the hat.
Or he is the apprentice.
I really don't think so.
Well.
Watch, we'll probably be surprised. The sorcerer will be some lady. We're thinking it's going to be this guy, and it's going to be some lady
Yeah,
somewhere.
you're probably right. Most major characters on Once Upon a Time do not get to be men.
Here's the thing I wonder, though. Are we even going to meet the sorcerer this season? Because think about this. Around this time in season 2 was when they started going in the direction of the Peter Pan thing, but they had to take us there via Greg and Tamara. So maybe this whole second half of the season is going in the direction of the Queens of Darkness and Rumple. and unless he's going to become our queen too.
Oh, okay.
But it'll go in that direction, and they'll be looking for the author. Everybody's looking for the author. Maybe we won't actually meet the author this season, because that sounds very end game like, and we've talked about that before. To meet the author of the book, and then
It's like the box.
yeah, we don't necessarily want it opened yet. It could be that's the hook for the end of season 4 to take us into season 5 is we're right about to meet the author, or we discover who the author is at the last episode, and then boom.
Yeah.
Maybe. People said breaking the original curse was endgame.
Well, but
I didn't.
that's not what the pilot indicated to us.
Right.
The pilot indicated that breaking the curse meant the final battle will begin. I don't know. Are we still holding them to that?
I
No.
don't think so anymore.
Well-
I think the final battle has happened, basically. I don't know when it happened, but it probably happened.
See, this season has had a lot of throwbacks to the pilot, to the actual first episode, not only season 1, but to the pilot. And then something that Emma and like Regina were saying to each other in the library when Henry found it made me again think of the pilot when Emma was like, "Yeah, sure, I'm in. Like I'm here to bring back the happy endings. That's what I'm going to do for you too, Regina." That's totally like that's what Henry was saying to Emma all through the pilot when he's trying to convince her to stay. He said like, "You're here because it's your destiny. You're going to bring back the happy endings." So they might be trying to tie it back now. If bringing back Regina's happy ending is actually a legitimate thing that the Savior can do.
Yeah, and Rumpel will probably get in the way, or Regina may get in the way of Rumpel now, because it seems like Regina is slowly shifting over to Hero's side.
Yeah.
I wonder if Rumpel now, 6 weeks later in New York, if he knows who the author is. Because he seemed to be talking more confidently, or maybe he knows where they can go to try to find out who the author is. When he and Regina were in the car talking, he never thought about this thing of, oh, let's find the author and have him write us a better story, anything like that. So it was Regina that gave him that idea.
Yeah.
And I'm thoroughly convinced after this episode that the author is the sorcerer. Whether we call him Merlin or Yensid, I don't know. The sorcerer. I'm just going to go with that for now. I'm convinced he's the author because he's got these books in his house. And even Rumpel basically Rumpel confirmed that this house belongs to the sorcerer. And in the sorcerer's house are all of these books. So this sorcerer that we have not met, that has just been vaguely called the sorcerer, has got to be the author of the book.
Well,
Broom.
that's what they want you to think.
Just note to Adam and Eddie, please don't make this a I know your Balefire moment for us. Please. Do not bring back the typewriter. We don't need August to come back. Please.
Don't bring back the taser. Don't bring back the dragon.
Goodness. That taser.
And by the dragon, you mean the dragon, not the Maleficent dragon.
Right. Maleficent dragon, that's cool. The other guy, not so much. It was nice to see a closing to the Arendelle storyline.
Yeah.
Anna is going toward her wedding. They're getting chocolate. A line that seemed a little bit forced from Frozen.
That scene suddenly was like, oh, that's like we were just beginning the Frozen characters again. But it's okay. It was nice.
I noticed a pendant that Elsa was wearing that's probably not significant at all, but I've never noticed her wearing it before, that blue gem that she was wearing at the end. But I like that they actually fully, completely wrapped up. It's not as if they can't bring those characters in for another storyline if they so desire, but it's not like the whole Philip, Aurora, Mulan, like where we're thinking they're going to be back in the next episode and then they never come back for the rest of the season.
Right.
Like start, middle, finish, done. I appreciated that.
Yeah,
I did.
they gave us, it was basically just a punch, and that's all it took to
Right.
dethrone Hans.
Like you do.
I kind of wish
Anna
they'd
and
showed that,
Kristoff are
though.
having their happy ever after.
I really wish they had showed that.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that Emma wanted to be the one to open the portal back when how many times has she been like unintentionally sucked into a portal? But let me do it, guys. It might be dangerous. And then like if it weren't for it being delivered by Anna, it would have been such bad writing. But the whole I wish I got to meet this Mr. Gold guy, and he's like a fairy godfather, right? And he seems super helpful.
Right.
Just on her way out the door, like only Anna. That's just so true to her character.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was hilarious. And I was actually drinking water when she said that Gold was a fairy godfather. And it didn't end well.
But what about the wishing star? You think that's one of those throwaway items as well?
Well, they never explained whether it was a one-use item or
true.
not. And, maybe it can just sit on top of a file cabinet like a powerful gauntlet.
And be careful what you wish for, which, by the way, speaking of that little line, our next episode will be a review of Into the Woods. So be sure to watch for that. Into the Woods comes out on Christmas Day. Jeremy and I did see it, and in short, definitely expect a musical. It was a lot of fun.
Not from the podcast.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun of a movie. From what we've heard, we haven't seen the musical itself, but from what we've heard, it stuck very close to the musical. It will get certain tunes and certain words stuck in your mind. And it's really cool how they weave the fairy tales together, very Once Upon a Time-like in that. So watch for our more detailed review that does start off spoiler-free in episode 178 of the podcast, which will be coming out on Christmas week, and Into the Woods comes out on Christmas Day. So check it out, comment on that, let us know what you think of the movie.
I can't wait. We're going Christmas Day to see it.
I'm excited to see it too.
I'm looking over our notes. Is there really anything else here to talk about?
Probably.
I just have the whole Regina Emma thing.
Okay.
Shucks.
Hunter, you go ahead and take us there.
Okay. One of the really good things I liked about this episode is that we got to really see how Regina and Emma are bonding into like a sisterhood, co-parenting, I guess you could say, thing.
Drinking buddies.
Well, yeah, they're drinking buddies, and Regina learns that Emma is really there to help. Like, she's not there to, like, attack her for anything, and agreeing to help with Operation Mongoose really showed that. Like, she wasn't like, oh, no, we shouldn't do this. It was like, no, really, let's do this. We can do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love how their relationship has completely, it's so amicable now, and compared to how much hate we know Regina used to have, even from the last episode where they were all under the Snow Queen's curse. But I loved that dialogue at the end that was about, oh, I'm not in the mood for a hope speech. You're mistaking me for my mother. You need a drinking buddy. So great. And while all the while, our son that we share together is, off wandering somewhere.
Pulling on light fixtures.
In a magical house. In the middle of nowhere, far from everyone.
Right. It's so safe in Storybrooke.
Well, they
Well-
probably figure all the threats are gone. Snow Queen, Rumple, Evil Queen is now his mom again.
Yeah, Regina's not the evil queen at all anymore. And she's still got some attitude with her, but that's kind of just her personality.
Her fireball hand twitches once in a while.
By the way, I wanted to share a piece of feedback that we got. This was a great theory from Leslie, going back to Cruella. Leslie said, let's assume that Rumple banished her to the land without magic. In the Enchanted Forest, which, by the way, why wouldn't Rumple just banish himself? If he could do that, if he could send someone over, I don't think that would be a thing. But still, this is really interesting. Here's the interesting bit. In the Enchanted Forest, Cruella had magic, but since in our world she does not, the events in the classic 101 Dalmatians animated movie takes place after the banishment, hence why she had to rely on henchmen and was usually commenting how she was surrounded by idiots to get things done. Most likely, Rumpel will connect with her as a current or ex-convict, thereby tying the two versions of Cruella. One of the things I thought as a springboard from this theory from Leslie is, what if Cruella needs Dalmatian puppies as secret ingredients to potions and such?
No.
Forget the whole babies thing. She uses puppies.
She has to actually make a fur, but it's an enchanted fur,
Yeah.
No.
as only Dalmatians can do.
I don't.
I have to rewatch this movie again.
Yeah, I just put it on hold at the library to watch during hiatus so I can have smart things to say next half.
Jessica brought up the point of what happened to the door to Arendelle after they went through. Does it still work? Can they pass back and forth? Because it seemed like Elsa and Emma have a great friendship now. Are they going to be pen pal buddies? Just throw notes through
the door? Maybe.
That was I think I commented on this before I even had discovered your podcast back in season 1, that Emma doesn't hug people very readily. Even the first time she kind of hugged Henry was pretty significant for her character. And now it was really endearing to see her hugging Elsa and having such a heartfelt goodbye, because they really did bond and connect like sisters.
Another Jessica pointed out that the title of this episode was Heroes and Villains. It doesn't say heroes or villains. Jessica said, I think this is very telling of the whole show in general. And once upon a time, there's so much gray area that heroes are not just heroes and villains are not just evil. Evil is made, not born, and people can be both. Villains want to be heroes and want to have their happy endings too. This seems like what we are seeing this episode and what next season is going to be about. Rumpel believed in the first part of the episode that he could be a hero and a villain and have his cake and eat it too. But soon after he hit rock bottom and left Storybrooke, he's going to have realized what it is going to take for a villain to truly rewrite his story. Yeah, I think Rumpel is the new villain, and he's going to fully embrace that, no longer trying to turn over a new leaf, but being that villain.
Or even hide it, because that's also what he was doing.
Right.
There's this quote I was going to bring up earlier, but it's a quote from the TV show Angel, and the girl goes, funny thing about black and white, you mix them together and you get gray, and it doesn't matter how much white you try and put back in, you're never going to have anything but gray. And this show is kind of like that. We saw that Snow's heart still has, it's Snow White, but her heart still has that little, twinge of darkness from when she killed the queen's mommy and said she was sorry. Didn't mean it.
Who has that part, though? Is it her or Charming?
They each have half, right?
They each have half of the heart, but where was the dark spot? Was it in the right side or the left side?
I'm sure it was evenly divided.
It's like a hologram, like a true hologram. You cut it up and you still see the whole thing.
Huh, I just realized that explains why the Charmings have been so half-hearted lately.
But Jessica, it was Jessica, right, who just said that? Her mention of gray just makes me wonder whether this show is ever going to have somebody completely, if it's even possible, to be completely reformed.
I don't know.
In the context of this show.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, this concludes our discussion of heroes and villains. We'd love for your comments on some of the things that we brought up here. Please go to the show notes at oncepodcast.com/177 and you can continue the conversation there. Or go to our forums at oncepodcast.com and start your own conversations. What you think is going on, what some of your theories are. Comment on some of the other theories that other people share. That's all at oncepodcast.com, and we'd love for you to be part of that. We have this hiatus coming up, and yes, it's going to be a long hiatus, but we've still got some cool things planned for you. We have the Into the Woods movie review coming out just a little bit after this episode, or it might be out by the time you're listening to this podcast episode. Gallivant is coming out during the Once Upon a Time slot in January, and we're going to do a review of that. Some of us, at least. I'm not sure how many of us will watch that, but I'm planning on it and looking forward to it. And then we have some other cool things coming during the hiatus and also mixed in with when Once Upon a Time is there, like the Cinderella movie coming out and some other cool things going on and some other things that we're working on making happen during the hiatus. So stick around. Make sure that you watch the website, watch the forums, follow us on Twitter at OncePodcast, and each of us individually. I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at The Ramen Noodle.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin on Twitter at Phlegon. That's Phlegon.
I'm Erin, and I'm on Twitter at Erin J. Cruz.
And I'm Hunter Hathaway. You can follow me at Bit of Pixie Dust.
This podcast would not be possible without our great team of volunteers helping us. Special thanks to Corbin for sorting our feedback, Jack for writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter and Jacqueline sharing spoilers, Jacqueline and Matthew Paul moderating the chat room, Keb for managing our... Hold on. That was not right.
Okay. We should mention Jacqueline's Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me
Did you want me to do it? I know it.
Yeah, go ahead and just say that.
Okay, and don't forget to follow Jacqueline at punk_bunny_87.
This podcast would not be possible without your kind support and also the great team of volunteers that we have behind it. Special thanks to Corbin for sorting our feedback, Jack writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter and Jacqueline providing spoilers, Jacqueline and Matthew Paul moderating the forums, Jacob helping with screenshots, Keb managing the timeline, Aliascape moderating the chat room, and my fellow co-hosts Jeremy, Aaron, Hunter, and Jacqueline for hosting the podcast. And special thanks to you for being part of this community. No, I'm not talking to myself because I know you can and do listen to me. So thanks for listening. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our donors for this episode. Big thanks to our donors for this episode of the podcast. If you'd like to be one of them to make a one-time donation, automatic monthly donation, which is what helps us the most, especially with the hiatus coming up, or a per-episode donation, go to oncepodcast.com/sponsor. That's also where you can find our affiliate links for Amazon.com. And make sure that you take the challenge to learn something new in 2015 by going to lynda.com/once. That's lynda.com/once. And thank you for your support. All right.
Choo-woo.
We didn't mention that they're doing a Frozen sequel on the beginning of the Cinderella movie.
Oh, that's fine. We got plenty of time for that.
We mentioned it before, though, too, I think.
Oh, I stopped my recording. I hope that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped mine.
I usually ask permission. And they're remaking Pete's Dragon.
What?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that movie.
And they're remaking The Jungle Book.
Okay, so
Again?
I saw Pete's Dragon like 9,000 times when I was a kid. I watched
Yes.
it when the movie
Me too.
broke, but I have no conscious recollection of what the movie is about except for an animated green dragon in a real life world.
And flame toasting apples.
Oh, I found the DVD though. It's like in the cheap bin at Walmart, so I went and bought it.
Well, I do know that they're going to be filming Pete's Dragon in New Zealand alongside of filming Pirates of the Caribbean 5 in Australia
They're
at the
still
same
making
time.
those movies.
Yeah.
So there might
And,
be a dragon
time.
crossover.
Pete's Dragon is going to be using the studios that they used to film the Lord of the Ring movies at.
Oh.
I do a Disney Entertainment podcast, too. So, like all these, I know all the background information.
Okay, it's my goal to figure out press passes before Cinderella comes out.
I've got my request in already.
I
Okay.
can't find where to request that for here.
How did you find it for your area, Hunter?
I did the GoFubu or whatever, and I sent
GoFubo.
them an email, and then they took my email, and they're sending it to the San Diego area people, San Diego and LA. But I haven't heard anything back, and it's been like a month and a half.
Send me
And
their.
they sent me an email saying they sent it off.
Okay. Oh, they just sent it off to the other place.
Yeah. Where is it?
Okay.
Like I sent it to GoFubu or whatever,
GoFubo.
and then I sent him another email.
Fubu is so
I don't know.
I just Googled that and it was not.
It's FOBO. I don't know.
Oh.
GoFobo.com.
And then, yeah. So I sent them an email, and then a couple weeks later, I was like, I haven't heard anything back. I was just checking up, and they're like, well, we sent it out, so you should hear from them, but I don't know
Okay.
if there's anyone else I can email.
Let me try and check on it too. I know. Well, Aaron, you're gonna need to send me your. Actually, I probably have your address somewhere. You've sent us so many things for the podcast,
my
but
mailing address?
yeah, I need to
Yeah,
know like your
I'll send it to
closest
you.
major city. You can email
Okay.
that to me, and I'll contact my local press company and ask them if they know who represents those other areas.
Well, I just Googled GoFubo Toronto, and there is a thread that mentions
Fubo.
that will work for Toronto, but
Oh, okay.
I'll send you my info as well.
Because I would love to go to press screenings, just saying.
Yeah.
Well, see, like I'm gonna go to the movies anyway. I just want to be able to podcast with you guys about them if it's something that's related to one. So,
Oh yeah.
so it's like to get advance tickets
Did you say tickets?
is
Oh.
an important thing.
I thought you said get advanced tickets.
Tickets.
Like who?
I have a friend that sometimes adds extra syllables on the ends of words.
Is that friend named Daniel J. Lewis?
What?
No, but
Oh, okay. You have
she's
another
really,
friend named Daniel J. Lewis who does that.
She's really good at saying "ugly ducklings."
Ugly.
Ugly
awesome.
ducklings.
You're gonna make me cry.
Oh, any chance you'll be able to email me that password whenever you get a chance?
Not a
Okay.
chance, dearie.
Because then I know exactly what I'm doing tomorrow.
If you want to put me in on that email too, that'd be great.
Yeah. I for a little while I had this fantasy that we could all use LastPass and just share the passwords that way, but didn't quite play out. So yeah, both of you, do you receive the Noodle.mx emails that I send?
Yes.
Hunter, do you receive
I
those?
haven't in a while. I don't think I have. I mean, I got the ones about tonight's podcast.
Well, I mean, the Noodle.mx ones. I made a Google group for Noodle.mx Network.
I think
No,
I
I
get
don't
them.
think I did.
Because you've been
No, I
talking
don't.
about Linda this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then no, I don't get those.
Okay. You don't necessarily need to get them because most of it's stuff that hosts of their own shows need to know about on the network.
Yeah, I usually
But-
read yours and then I don't read any of the rest of it
Yeah.
as they come in.
All right.
Yeah, because I
will-
know the password I have is old, and I remember then I never copied that and saved it.
Okay. I will. Yeah, I'm sending an email right now. And Jeremy, I'll copy you on this too,
Cool.
just so you have it. Oh, you have LastPass. I can just share it.
Yeah, that's
with
true
you
too.
On LastPass.
You guys should get Jenny to record a voicemail about her day today for the ramen noodles next episode,
Oh, really?
just based on her Facebook status. Might be a good one.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
No.
I'm gonna save and upload this. Okay, I think I've asked you this before, but if I lock my computer but leave it running, Dropbox will still sync?
Right, as long as you don't log out. Locking is fine, but logging out, not good.
Okay. Okay. I know I always just do Control Alt Delete and then I do lock this computer. Okay.
Mine's in my Dropbox.
Okay.
It's just syncing over to the folder now.
Jacqueline, did you see my note in the chat? Oh, Jacqueline Hunter. I mean Hunter.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's fine.
I was like, is she reading it? Is she just ignoring me?
do you have Dropbox? Yeah, you have Dropbox.
Yeah, I just have the free one. But yeah,
Oh,
like,
is it
so I don't
too
know how
big for
big
the
it
free
is.
one?
I
Because
don't
that's all I
know.
have.
Okay, I'll look for it after we get these files out, and I'll like email you or something.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna give you my Dropbox email address.
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to take the broadcast offline. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great night. Have a Merry Christmas. Good night.
Merry Christmas, everyone.